Okay, so the Batman. I did not go see it because I did not want to catch COVID because, you know, that's how I am. So I went to see Uncharted and they saw the Batman. So how was the Batman?
You go first, Philip.
Oh, are we allowed to go into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say don't spoil it.
What's there to spoil about this movie?
He's probably already read everything.
Is Batman... No, I mean, like, I haven't read anything. I know about the appearance of said, perhaps, Joker. But, like, oh, does Batman die? Fucking no. Does Catwoman die? Fucking no.
This movie is slow-paced in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like watching a comic book. But a dark comic book. It's really well done.
Yep. Mm-hmm. For me, I'll say that the parts of it that I liked, I fucking loved. They were fantastic. The unfortunate part is that they're a little too few and far between. The bad parts really stick out.
Really?
Like, what were some bad parts?
The most obvious bad part is Catwoman. When you re-edit the movie in your head, there was absolutely no reason for this character to be there.
It was a shoo-in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you feel that way, Phil?
It was a love story shoo-in, and it's very, like, I'm spoiling it for anyone out there. Yeah. In the end, it didn't matter. It was a quick love interest so that they can move on to the next thing for the next movie.
Yep. And so she can cameo in the next one or come back as a savior in the next one.
Or do a HBO Max series.
Yeah, her role was worthless. Also, I did not dig on. This is the best, in my opinion, best representation of Batman. Because Batman, before everything else, he's two things. He's a fucking vigilante, which everyone always forgets about, and he's a detective. Out of all the goddamn movies we've seen him in, they kind of sort of maybe did it in Christian Bale's version.
Yeah,
but he's a detective first. And in this one, he's a detective before he's anything else. Before he's a crime fighter, he's a detective, right? That's why the first time we see him, he's solving the Joker's riddle, right? Mm-hmm. He goes in with Jim Gordon. And again, the cops hate him because he's a fucking vigilante. So he goes in, none of the cops want to talk to him. He goes walking by that one top cop, and the guy goes, "Goddamn freak." They all hate him. That's who Batman is. He's a vigilante that's doing shit when he shouldn't be. On the flip side, I get what Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson were trying to do with Bruce Wayne, but I don't like Bruce Wayne this way. The way they described him was a reclusive rock star. And I get that, but that's not the Bruce Wayne for
the
me.
rock star thing throws me off. Like, I get the recluse part of it.
It's really not. It's more of like a emotional, turmoiled. I kind of almost put it as like, you know, Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3? Yeah, you know when he gets emo
Spider-Man.
It's a little bit of that mixed with Robert Pattinson, but like not as campy. It's just like it's well done.
It's just not for me. It just wasn't for me.
My wife says that she likes the comparison to Ben Affleck, where Ben Affleck will come into the room and just be like, "I'm Batman. I'm going to do things," right? And in this, he's more like you said, standoffish. He waits. He lets things happen.
And what I like too, he's not a superhero in this movie. He's the Batman. He's a vigilante who's trying to figure out what he does. You know what I mean? But he's not a superhero. That's what I don't like about all the other Batmans.
What do you mean? Because it's like his second year of fighting crime.
It's how you put what's a superhero in your mind in that.
Okay,
somebody who saves people.
But also a superhero is. Like Superman's a superhero. He's well known. Everybody knows who he is. He wants to be known to everyone. To me, Batman was never that.
But is Kick-Ass a superhero to you then?
Kick-Ass is less a superhero, where Super is more a superhero. Yeah. The what do you call himself? The Electric Bolt, or I can't remember what Rainn Wilson called himself in that movie. Crimson Bolt. That's what it was. But that's a superhero. He just fights crime. He doesn't want to be known. He doesn't want to be respected and loved. He just fights crime. And with Batman, I always liked the Frank Miller Batman, who was kind of he wanted to stay out of the spotlight. He hated the spotlight. Mm-hmm. He grew to hate everything about being Batman, but had to be Batman. You know what I mean?
But does he have to be? Because we've seen in multiple iterations, and this is why I wanted to ask you guys.
That's the dichotomy of Batman.
Does this story exist without Batman? Like, this story has to have Batman in it to make sense?
This is Batman. Yep. But it's kind of like a rebirth of Batman, because he goes from being
a reimagining of
being
Batman,
that standoffish Batman to then being the hero at the end.
And that's where I knew there was going to be a lot of
controversy.
Controversy and conflict, because I see in the end he is he doesn't want to be the savior, but he's got to be the savior.
Yeah,
He's got to be that.
He was
guy.
very like
He's like, I hate to be here, but I have to be here. You know?
Because nobody else can do what he's doing.
Yeah, because nobody else would lead. Because there's a scene where like this whole area falls apart because the water's come flowing in because all these bombs went off, and then Batman goes down and sees all these people in the dark that are gonna fucking drown, and he's like, well, if no one else is gonna fucking do it, he pulls the cap off a flare, and he's holding the flare up, and they have an overhead shot of everybody following Batman out. I'm like, that's who this is. He doesn't want to do it, but he's got to do it, right? I like that in Batman, and it's the first Batman I feel who really is they've ever caught that really correctly. The other thing that needs to be fucking said, because the guy playing James Gordon, I feel like a dick. I constantly forget his name. Jeffrey Wright, that's his name. Spectacular. He's so fucking good. Yeah. But not enough is being fucking said about Paul Dano as the Riddler. Yeah. He's spectacular. I fucking loved him as the Riddler.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
He hit the fucking nail on exactly who this guy is. He's the fucking Zodiac. He's a nutcase he's the Unabomber. He's a nutcase who he knows way more than you, and he only wants to get found when he gets found.
This made the whole Batman story realistic. Like, instead of it being like out there, he's Riddler with the Jim Carrey.
Yep.
Like,
or Frank Gorshin or any of them. Yeah.
But isn't that goes more to the comic book spirit? Because it's kind of interesting how, Rob, you talk about it being true to your version or your idea of the comics. I think Matt Reeves is actually closer to you in age, probably about 11 years or maybe just a little bit off. It doesn't matter. But I just mean, like, in terms of sensibilities, this is the most correct to your vision of who Batman would be. And you're talking about more realistic, which is kind of interesting to me because it's like coming from that comic book angle.
Different
like,
comics depicted him in different ways. That's the problem there.
Yeah.
I like the gritty, angry, hateful.
I do
Batman.
too. And like when they did it with when they tried to do it with the whole one that the Dark Knight
Rises,
that series, they tried to make it gritty, but they made it boring.
What you think you guys think that the Dark Knight is a boring?
I think
because there's this thing now online where everybody wants to retroactively trash the Nolan Batman movies, which is crazy.
I will say the same complaints I had about the Dark Knight Rises are the same fucking complaints that I have today.
What if I say this? Dark Knight Rises is a bad movie. The Dark Knight is one of the best movies of all time, and Batman Begins is quite good.
I get confused which ones are which. So
okay, 1, 2, and 3. 1 is good. 2 is the best movie of all time.
You have to tell me the villains.
Scarecrow was the first one.
Yeah, Scarecrow, then Joker, and then Bane.
Joker one was awesome. Bane was the worst.
Yeah.
No,
so it's just taking the Joker one. Just taking the Joker one. Do you think this movie is better than the Joker one, The Dark Knight?
Yes.
What?
Overall, I feel it is because I was captivated the whole time. I was into it the whole time. I could even tell like this is slow, but I am loving it.
Yep.
I'm waiting for the next thing to happen.
That's more of a whodunit than anything else, right? Even though you know it was the Riddler.
Well, I mean that's the thing that I keep hearing about. It's like, oh, I love that he's the detective, but it's like similar thing with Uncharted. It's like these clues are like the easiest to freaking solve.
I did I didn't get any of the riddles. Mostly because the riddles are all except for the first one. I'll say are kind of wishy-washy.
It's like whatever the story needs.
The first one was beautiful because Batman walks in and there's this guy who's dead and he's wrapped his head in duct tape, which is fucking fantastic. And written all over everything is "No more lies." And then they open the card to the Batman and opens up. What does a liar do when he's dead? And everyone's thinking. And Batman looks at the body and then goes, "He lies still." I was like, "Oh, that's so fucking
good." The other ones I was just like, "What?"
So good. I did like though thumb drive because it's connected to the guy's thumb. That was funny. But the other thing
ruining the whole thing for
that
Will.
Unfortunately is
there's a lot of other things.
The price you pay for not getting good.
I hope that Matt Reeves has enough clout. Because the next villain that they want is the Joker, right? As obvious by the end of this.
Do you want to do it again, though? Do you want to do the Joker again?
The problem is Joker is the wrong bad guy for this Batman.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the most wanted,
the best thing about this Batman was Gotham is a cesspool. It's a lesion that needs to be lanced. The villain that you do that with is Two-Face. Now they already did it
who I
really
thought
well.
it was at
They already
first.
did it amazingly well with The Dark Knight. If they can get a dirtier, grimier, just slimier version of Two-Face, he's who we need to
Don't
see.
you
in
guys
person.
want to see like a new villain though, like Clayface or something?
No,
like
because
that?
I don't think it would sell as well.
But it
What do you
also
mean?
it doesn't.
I mean, that's not our
it's
concern.
not-
Our concern
it's
is the
not
best
who-
movie ever.
It's not who this Batman is. The Riddler was perfect for this Batman because Batman's discovering himself, and the Riddler helps him do it. Right?
So you guys don't think like a child molester, Lewis Carroll type like Mad Hatter would be?
Nope.
Yeah, because it's like, what if? Because to me, if we're going the serial killer angle, then and basically have a Zodiac-inspired person, why not have somebody who's basically their own crazy knockoff of inspired by the Riddler?
Because
that kind of way.
The whole theme and the whole tone of this movie is Gotham is a cancer, right? Batman is the unwilling solution to that cancer. How do you make that unwilling solution raise itself up and be the ultimate fucking solution to it? You have to have something that is the exact opposite of that
Also,
cancer.
take Batman and the Batman characters and make them more, like you said, grounded and real. And that's what they did with the Riddler. I'm expecting them to do that with the Joker. They did
And
that with the Penguin.
Did you guys not think though that like Scarecrow as a
it's
pharmaceutical
wonderful.
person, or the Joker as just like a possibly, we don't know, special forces kind of chaos agent, and Bane just as like a hulking military man who's not
but
even that huge? Like
I
they were
think
all grounded.
I think you're getting stuck in who these characters are instead of looking at them and who they are in comparison to the Batman. So when you look at that first movie, Batman Begins, why is Scarecrow who he is?
Because of fear.
That's right. Scarecrow wants to bring in Ra's al Ghul, the effective father of Batman, and says, "I'm going to take what you think is worth saving and destroy it." The Scarecrow was just a way to get that in. So the Scarecrow is nothing but effectively a gateway drug to get to the ultimate bad guy. So we wipe him out. Who does Batman go up against next? Batman is a symbol of hope. Batman is a symbol of everything that can be rebuilt in Gotham. You bring along someone who doesn't give a shit. He just wants to blow it all apart.
Introduce a little anarchy.
He just doesn't care. And that's the perfect villain for that Batman.
Are you saying Joker?
Joker, yeah. And then when Batman defeats him, right, and the Joker's locked up, the next guy has been trained by Batman's dad, is not even an equal to Batman. He is superior to Batman, and he destroys Gotham. He cuts Gotham off from the rest of the world, doing exactly what Batman's dad couldn't do.
And that is?
The
Bane.
Court of Owls.
No, Bane. So Bane effectively...
I don't think
trained-
they're going to go with Bane.
No, I'm not saying... But I'm saying
Unless he's a
looking at the
sub-character.
original
Oh,
Batman
yeah.
movies.
Oh, okay,
Where
yeah.
stop looking at the villains as singular entities and start looking at them as juxtaposed to Batman, which is what they have to
But
be.
the thing about Bane is that, like, if you think about it, and this is because The Dark Knight Rises is like a shaky movie, that Bane isn't even really related to Ra's al Ghul at all. Like
It's Talia
he's just
Talia Ghul or Talai, whatever her name is.
Talia al Ghul, yeah.
Talia, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's that last movie has some pretty
great
significant
parts,
problems. There's some
yeah.
great parts and some real, but it's all in comparison to Batman. Whenever Batman movie I looked at, I always look at them as Batman and who is he up against, and that's why I really love the Riddler.
Because the
is
villains
smarter-
are more interesting than Batman.
and what do the Riddler or what do the bad guys mean to Batman? You know, if it's like, think of those shitty Joel Schumacher movies, and he just drop in whatever villain.
Batman
great
Forever
Batman
is
beats him.
okay though.
No, I don't like. I mean, and that's just me. I don't like Val Kilmer in the role. But again, when you think of it, the Riddler comes in versus Batman. Oh, it's a bad guy I got to defeat. Like, no, dude. I want to see.
Yeah.
What does Batman learn about himself in comparison to the villain he's going up against?
Yeah.
Like that's what I like to see.
I like looking at the villain as like what the movie means thematically, and I've heard a lot of people say like, well, if Gotham is like a cesspool, they say like a well that has been poisoned, why not just like introduce poison ivy?
Oh, she's coming. I guarantee you.
But then isn't Poison Ivy too unrealistic then, Phil?
No, because you could make it realistic in some way. Like
in some
that's
way.
the whole point of this whole thing.
That's why I'd like to see Clayface, just because if you bring in the special effects angle of that, if somebody who can basically shapeshift into anything,
But
or that invisible.
I think as long as they get the tone right, they could effectively bring it like Clayface. They could bring in fucking Killer Croc. They could bring in.
But you
Solid
have to
Grundy.
think how are they going to bring them in? Because I don't think they're going to do the whole super CG thing. I think they're going to go way more grounded with it and do make. I don't know how. I don't know how.
I think with the right approach conceptually, you could like say do anything. But that's why I wanted to push it and be like, oh, I don't want to see another rendition of Two-Face. I know that they could do it well, but that seems like too easy to me. And I feel that, like, I wrote in my review of War for the Planet of the Apes that this is a boring movie, but it's directed so well. I've never seen somebody with so much confidence behind the camera. This guy could do anything. Yeah. That's why I want to see Matt Reeves push
very meticulous director.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I really enjoyed it. The parts that I didn't enjoy... I didn't hate them, but the parts that I loved, I fucking loved. But the parts that were not very good, they stuck out as not being very good.
So did you think that it didn't drag at all?
I think it did, but in a good way. So I think, like I said, it was...
And did you think that The Dark Knight, the one with the Joker, dragged?
Not really, no. Okay. I enjoyed it.
But you still like this one more than Dark Knight, eh?
Yeah.
I do.
Really?
I do. Ask me in like a year. Because things change, right? But I want to see it again because you know AVX. What were you saying about AVX?
We'll
save it for another review that's coming.
The other thing that I wanted to hear, because I have questions, as somebody who didn't go see it, I'm obviously fine with like not seeing it, even though I'd like to. It'll probably be on HBO Max 45 days from now, at least. That's like the present agreement. They can change it like they can. So maybe April 19th, maybe not. But
like they did Spider-Man,
Yeah. But that, to me, the Spider-Man thing was just something, like they never had that agreement in the first place. That's something that the internet conjured up on their own out of nothing.
I'll tell you one thing, too. I'll watch this well before I'll watch Spider-Man again. I don't know if I'll ever watch fucking Spider-Man.
Oh, did you see? I thought you didn't go see Spider-Man.
No, I went and saw Spider-Man.
I agree.
We never got your review on Spider-Man.
I'll watch this way before I'll watch Spider-Man.
Well, this seems like a movie first where Spider-Man, a reason a lot of people didn't like it or didn't think it deserved Oscars because it's not like a movie. It's like a fan
franchise.
It was definitely a fan thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this was a full-out movie, like you said.
It's a fucking franchise. Like Marvel is a franchise now.
Yeah.
Whereas this now felt very original. Not original as it's going to be with a character that we've known for 70 fucking years. But a good take. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I wish wasn't there was Catwoman. And it's not because Zoe Kravitz is a bad actress. It's just this character was worthless to the movie. She just did not need to be there.
Just an extra.
And every time she was there, I was like, and the whole Falcone's her dad thing, I'm like, who fucking gives a shit? This doesn't matter at all. Just fucking go.
There wasn't enough.
It's kind of funny. That seems like just a classic Hollywood. The same thing. And people brought this up about Spider-Man Homecoming, which makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that you just said that. But it's funny because it immediately brings to mind why somebody on Twitter was bringing up, hey, do you think like they cast Laura Harrier as Peter's love interest in the first movie and then later figured out to connect them as her father as a twist to make that like a twist? Like, did they factor in race in the beginning? Because you mentioning that, like, Falcone, who's played by John Turturro, who's like Italian American. And then Zoe Kravitz is like Jewish.
And African-American.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, Oscar Isaac hosted SNL 2 nights ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm American and Guatemalan, which means I can play an Egyptian pharaoh. It's just kind of like that kind of broad pinballing there of like, I do like how it's like we're not bound by that, but at the same time, it's like... I find that so-and-so is a father is kind of a cheap reveal.
I was never taken out of it. I don't feel it was earned.
I feel bad that part was made as a damsel in distress. Yeah. And it's not... She wasn't badass enough to be Catwoman. Like, Catwoman should have kicked some more butt. Should have been more prominent.
Like, she escapes Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, and she's never, like, really cornered. Which you could say
she shouldn't have been in the story at all.
I mean, but you could say that as the only time Catwoman really figures directly into the story is in Batman Returns, and then even then, that story I'm just not a fan of. Like, I like
I'd argue that she is the most prominent part of Batman 1966.
So it's like a tough character, and my brother felt this way about Harley Quinn. Of like Harley Quinn is like a comics out cause, as Alfred would say, of like the franchise, that it feels like, we're introducing this character it feels like somebody who comes later in the story, but doesn't belong in the establishing Batman.
I can't fucking stand the character of Harley Quinn. She is the worst part of the Suicide Squad.
I like Harley Quinn, but not Birds of Prey Harley Quinn, because that was boring as
I like Margot Robbie. I don't like Harley Quinn. Robbie, I'm sorry. I don't like Harley Quinn. She is a pop culture stupid character.
So I think she's brought to life excellently because, like, Margot Robbie is, like, a great actress, but now we hear people saying, even though the Batman was designed as its, like, own thing, it's like, okay, well then, where does the DCEU stand? Does the Batman kill
I think
DCEU?
Batman should avoid the fucking DCEU.
I don't think it's going to be its separate
away
thing.
from it.
It's going to be its separate thing, but I just mean, like,
don't
okay,
know.
so Aquaman is
DC
coming.
has finally got a good thing going. They need to stay the fuck away from anything in this terrible Zack Snyder verse and keep on going the direction.
But they launched it, like, how far away can you get from the Zack Snyder verse? Because that's where it launched.
I will tell you
should avoid it
straight up that
completely.
they're going to go subtle. Subtle DC.
Subtle with the Flash coming out. You think they'll be? Do you think
Aside from that, because that one's already made.
Because that movie's going to be a mess. Like, there's nothing about that movie that looks good.
There's only one part of that new fucking Flash movie that I'm looking forward to. I'm not going to go see it.
Michael Keaton back.
Michael Keaton, man.
The Flash.
The one thing they're not putting in the commercial is the only thing that anybody.
No, they put his voice. He narrates.
His voice
the
is the only. But they're not showing him as Batman because that's the only fucking thing that, at least for me and guys that I know who like Keaton's Batman's the only fucking thing. Ezra Miller is got to be one of the worst goddamn things I've ever seen in my fucking life.
He's not doing good.
He's so terrible. You know, so I'm really looking forward to the grounding of Michael Keaton. And what would be great is if, again, showing that a Batman like what's his name? Affleck did as good as he could.
I thought he was like the most Batman-y because the problem is, once again, and I haven't seen it, so I'm a hypocrite, but like the only person who ever looked like Bruce Wayne is Ben Affleck. Is the only one who's been cast as Batman who like looks like Batman.
Yep.
Did you guys see the trailer for DC Super Pets? And do you know who's playing Batman or voicing Batman in that?
No, I heard though. Who is it?
It stars Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson. The person who's playing Batman is Keanu Reeves. And everybody joked in the YouTube comments of like, Keanu Reeves in his regular voice has more Batman in him than Robert Pattinson's Batman voice, Ben Affleck's Batman voice, Christian Bale's Batman voice, and Michael Keaton's I believe he works for that version of Batman, but when you think of like the Kevin Conroy Batman voice, and that's who you imagine as Batman when he's like voicing the comics of like just a very deep baritone manly man titan, basically. You think of somebody with the voice of with kind of the low howl of Keanu Reeves.
But if that's who you want Batman to be, I don't like my Batman.
This was a subtle approach to that.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing that to the screen, though, but I don't doubt that the performance like works. Well, I do because I don't think.
Rob, I need your opinion on this. Do you think that this role, and I think it was made for Ben Affleck?
No,
not
at all.
Because I think that if you put not the Ben Affleck Batman as he portrays it, but the look. If you put Ben Affleck in that suit, it looks exactly the same.
I'll tell you, I wanted.
I don't think so. I see this as there's no way that Affleck could pull off that reclusive, self-hating person that Pattinson was.
I think he can pull off that.
No, Affleck is not. One, he's not a good enough actor.
I think he's a better actor than Robert Pattinson.
No, not at all. Affleck tries as hard as he does, ends up going to the exact same character every single movie he does, which is fine when it calls for it.
It works,
but this goes in places that Affleck couldn't go.
But here's my thing is that, like, I feel in order to, and again, speculation, but I feel in order to capture every time on screen who they want Batman and Bruce Wayne to be, they always minimize the one. And for Robert Pattinson, it works, but it's like minimizing Bruce Wayne essentially entirely and just making him the Batman. And
no, I don't think they minimize him. They play him as a different Bruce Wayne than we've seen before.
But you said that, like, to him, the Bruce Wayne, it didn't quite work.
It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and that's kind of...
I like it.
Because to me, it looks like Damian Wayne or something like that. Like, that's how I imagine.
I look at the same thing with Affleck's Wayne. Affleck is a fine Bruce Wayne. He is a terrible fucking Batman.
Well, that's why I find...
You know what he
but
is?
He never got to be
looks
Batman, really.
He looks like the bat suit in Dark Knight Returns, the comic book, which is why Zack Snyder stole that idea for that terrible Batman vs Superman movie. But that's who Affleck looks like, which is great. But I want Batman as a grizzled, mean, old fuck. If you're gonna make him mean, then do it mean. Don't do it this halfway fucking Batman that he was, and that's why I like Pattinson. Pattinson, despite where I knew I was gonna get that was he beats the shit out of these fucking guys. He grabs this guy and just fucking pummels him, right?
And that's his first scene, isn't it?
This Chinese guy is looking at him, and Bob Pattinson just looks over at him, and the guy goes, "Don't hurt me." And Pattinson's not like, "I'm here to help." He just kind of looks at the guy for a second, then just walks away. I'm like, that guy's fucking unhinged. He's going to snap at any moment. Batman. That's what works. That's what I want my Batman to be. And then at the end, he fucking, because he's been getting shot and it's been hurting him pretty bad. Like, it doesn't break his armor, but it's fucking hurting him, right? Yeah. That he's knocked around. He shoots himself with adrenaline, and he goes over, grabs this guy, and he's just beating the shit out of this guy. And they're like, even Catwoman comes over and goes, "Dude, fucking calm down, relax." I'm like, that's Batman. He's totally fucking unhinged. I like that.
And they're going to play on that in the future.
And they should, because that's a good fucking Batman. Yeah. He's a vigilante. He is a guy taking the law into his own fucking hands, and he shouldn't be.
And he's emotional. He's got his own emotions due to past issues.
Yep. Yeah. So, and also, another thing I really liked, I think it might have been in hindsight when I was looking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, that's right. Spider-Man did it right as well. Spider-Man, the first one, Spider-Man, I'm Away from Home or whatever. No, not the Raimi ones.
Oh,
this one.
Homecoming.
Go over. We don't need the fucking backstory. We already know how Batman became Batman. Mm-hmm. We don't need to see that fucking origin story again. And they skip over it. We know that Thomas and Martha Wayne were murdered, but yep, they were murdered, turned their son into a bit of a recluse. That's it. We don't need to fucking watch it.
What's this I keep hearing about, like, if Batman is 20 years old kind of thing, then what movie they were going to see as a... Like, is that just an internet joke that has no meaning?
Yeah.
Because there's no reference to...
That's people who who nitpick... Oh,
have too much time on their...
Have you seen that there was one part of Batman where one time he's looking this way, and then the very next cut he's looking the other way? It's like... Dude, watch this movie for its fucking tone. Stop nitpicking it just because you can't make something good.
I saw the viral clip that I saw was the cast being interviewed, and they read, like, fan theories. And one of them, it's like, if we're to assume that the Batman takes place in 2022, and Batman is 28 years old, and 20 years ago his parents died, then it is far to assume, and it sounds so brilliant because it's being read by Jeffrey Wright, is like that the movie that they walked out on was Scooby-Doo. And then Robert Pattinson just says, "Good movie," which to me doesn't make any sense because I looked up actually in 2002 all of the Warner Brothers movies that they would have gone to the theaters to see, and the only one that I could fathom anybody walking out on, although there was a couple of terrible ones, Ballistic X versus Sever.
I really hope the people who write stuff like that on the internet get COVID and die.
Oh my God.
And that way, when they're fucking dead, we could have more people that like, hey, you know what? Let's talk about the tone of this movie. Let's talk about why this movie was good or why this movie was bad. Not nitpick about, I wonder what movie Batman watches. All you people deserve to get killed. So,
you got to play to the layman's. You have to, because that's the casual audience is. There's going to be far more of those.
But everybody knows who, everybody knows who Batman is. I had a few questions for you guys though that I wanted to ask. Okay. Number one, I keep hearing about like the 45 minutes essentially being treated as like an add-on. The last act of like I was ready to good, and then it's like we have to do this finale now. Yep.
That's what Joker feels like. Absolutely feels like.
No, the whole part. Absolutely. The whole part with the water. All of that. You could have. I know. There's good parts in it.
The water.
Please
explain.
There's a huge explosion because they're right by the seawall. They call it. Yeah. The explosion. There's a huge like their amphitheater. It gets flooded to where all the people are because the new mayor. The new mayor is doing her thing. So I don't get by all these strategic vans that the Riddler set up.
It's Gotham Square Garden.
Is it really?
Yeah,
because it's New York. Gotham is New York.
Yeah, but that's kind of what bothers me because I think of like I don't know I have no illusions that this movie is going to be good. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. And maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't feel I needed to go see it, because also you guys going to see it, and, obviously COVID, I'm still wearing a mask when no one else is. But the thing that I was wondering about is, like, how is this new to you guys? Like, because to me, it's like it might as well be where Batman Forever was in regards to Batman and Batman Returns in terms of like, well, it could have just been a sequel starring a different actor and it's its own tone because Batman Forever is its own tone compared to the other two. It's a lot lighter and fluffier. This is just the counterweight to that. Like, so my thing is like, I know it's with Batman, and even though it's like grittier, it's like, oh, it's Batman, and you take the filter that Nolan applied and just go a little bit darker. You know,
no, it's not that. The only person that says
like you
copy
go from
Chris
Heat
Nolan,
to Seven.
Copy Chris Nolan and try to be grittier is a dipshit like Zack Snyder. Matt Reeves, this is his own Batman. He goes in his own direction. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what I liked about it. It takes a character that we all know, and it's an original take on a character we all know. He has to have certain tropes. That's what makes Batman Batman. But he doesn't have fucking hockey skates coming out of his feet. He's not playing anything for comedy the way that dipshit Ben Affleck does in those shitty Zack Snyder movies. It is a completely original Batman.
So you don't think of it as like Batman taking place in a David Fincher movie?
No.
Nope.
Next question.
My next question is like, because a lot of people have compared it, and some people have said that it's better than The Dark Knight. Do you feel that thematically, Phil, it's on point with The Dark Knight? Because like, somebody pointed out a few weeks ago, like, The Dark Knight, every single character in that movie goes through an arc that both says something about who they are as a person and how Gotham is as a society, like, perfectly. And hearing you guys both say about it kind of being tacked on at the end of it, it sounds like they kind of want to say a lot of those things, and it's well directed. It's just that the script isn't to the level of, like, what the direction is, what the cinematography is at, what the score is at, that the script and stuff just isn't. It's the weakest element of all those movies. Of all those parts. Did you find that there was anything about the script that you didn't like? Because a lot of the story complaints seem to be, I don't know. What was your least favorite part of the movie? Not that I'm trying.
Catwoman. Now that he's
when you start thinking of it, right? When you start replaying it back in your head,
she was just there,
and you're like, "Oh yeah, she was." Well, no, that could go. Well, is there any part? No, that part doesn't need it. That's what I did when I was watching. I had a fucking recorder going on in my head, and I was editing out all the Catwoman parts. Going, "Yep, I could arrive at the same ending without her in the movie."
Is there any like So another thing that I've heard about is just the comparison between the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight and the interrogation scene in this between the Riddler. Did you find any similarities there, Phil?
No, I did. Well,
who is it? Joker in The Dark Knight?
Yeah, Joker in Dark Knight. So when they're in the cop shop, and this one they're in the insane asylum. They're in Arkham.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They're played. I would never want a rehash of that original one. They are played very differently. The one with the Joker is a guy
I have to watch it again.
Yeah.
Is trying to get Batman to accept his fate. Like, dude, I'm never going to go away, and you're never going to get rid of me. Like, I am always here. I am always the yin to your yang. And with Paul Dano, with the Riddler is like, we're in this together. You know, not that we need each other, but we're in it together. We're fucking buddies.
High School Musical
and Batman's like, no, we aren't. You're a fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
That was I'm sure there's been comparisons to it, like Will's saying, but I'm glad that there was no similarity between those two parts. They weren't played to look similar. They weren't acted to be similar. They were two
part of
totally
that subtle groundedness type thing where it's like, we're gonna make the mental issues like. And it works, and especially in this. Like you're saying, it works perfectly.
Yep. Do you find that, does Robert Pattinson do any dramatic heavy lifting in this?
I think he does.
Because I remember all the controversy of, like there always is with people being cast as Batman, and somebody said, and I'll post on it, I saved it. Once I see it, he'll be like, mark my words, Robert Pattinson will be fantastic as Batman. And like a few months after he was cast, somebody was like, okay, and somebody always gets this wrong, but it's like, it's not Shakespeare, it's Batman, Robert Pattinson will be fine. And it made me think, like, it's not actually a very demanding role. Like, you have somebody who's automatically two-dimensional, automatically interesting. He kicks ass and he's an interesting character. How do you screw that up? Like, Batman doesn't even emote that much. And
you screw it up the way that George Clooney and Val Kilmer screwed it up.
Yeah. Well,
you have a character that's supposed to be dark and you give him no depth.
I think how this was directed and how it was shot
mattered more than his performance.
Yes, and I think that is the key here.
No, I think he gave it a lot of. No, I think Pattinson gave it. It really benefited from Matt Reeves' direction.
Yeah.
He's a great director, but Pattinson brought a lot of depth to the role.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. More than any. Is he the best Batman? Would you say? You're gonna say Michael Keaton is the best Batman?
Oh, absolutely.
I disagree.
Really?
Absolutely.
Because I think
Keaton hits that broken fucking weirdo who's trying to figure out who he is.
He's not believable
perfectly.
as Bruce. It's funny,
But he's not believable Bruce Wayne at all. No.
No, and that's the problem. Is that what I find funny? It's like
It looks like another movie.
Yeah, Keaton is believable is the only one who is believable as Batman and not Bruce Wayne. Val Kilmer is believable as Bruce Wayne, kind of both.
Clooney is a good Bruce Wayne, but he is not taking any of that role seriously. I did
he
like
is such a
Pattinson's-
perfect nobody has ever been a more perfect Bruce Wayne than
like
George
Pattinson's
Clooney. He's
kind
just a terrible
of
Batman.
brooding nuttiness. Not nuttiness.
But you don't think Val Kilmer is nutty because I've seen Val Kilmer and he's
no.
he's a weirdo.
You know what it is?
In a good way.
The car. Chicks dig the car.
But
if
that's
your
like-
director tells you to say that, and you say that
it's
going,
not.
I'm
That's
Batman,
Akiva Goldsman's
you have
screenwriting.
absolutely no fucking idea who Batman
That
is.
is Academy Award winner Akiva Goldsman's screenwriting. Which
but those last two Batman movies are garbage.
The one,
but the point is that with
Christian Bale,
the
you don't
Batman,
think?
Christian Bale's a fantastic Bruce Wayne. He's a very adequate Batman.
Yeah.
But if you were to put it between Bale and what I've seen so far, Pattinson, I prefer Pattinson. I prefer this Batman. In Batman Begins, he's getting started, but it's more in Batman Begins, he's like figuring out the tech angles and shit. I like how this Batman is trying to figure out how far is too far. Like, if I beat the living shit out of this guy to the point where I kill him, I've gone too far, and I'm going to stop just a fucking hair's width shy of that. That's what I like about
what
this
I
Batman.
like about what you guys are both saying about Batman right now, and obviously the Matt Reeves' name keeps coming up, is how precise this version of Batman seems, like in terms of specific details.
This movie's full of details. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like a weird dark version of Marvel in terms of the level of what's the word?
Pulling in from other universes.
You can tell that they thought about everything.
Stuff they put in there. Yeah.
It's fully realized.
I just the Joker thing I did not like because I don't want to see the Joker.
Easter egg.
Yeah, but I don't want to see the Joker again in this Batman's universe.
And what about the guy who played him, like Barry Keoghan?
He's fine. He's a fine actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As soon as I knew it was the Joker,
it reminded you that it's like, oh yeah, this is Batman.
I was going to ask the second
Batman.
of my questions, but I'm going to go into it since you're talking about it. The Batman sequel, I feel like it's going to happen, obviously.
Yeah. $128 million it made.
I feel like it's going to be Joker and a little bit of Riddler because they're going to work together somehow. But then I'm thinking the best thing you could do with this is go Joker now compared to Joker in year one.
Joker?
No, in year one.
Okay.
Because they're not touching on year one yet.
Yeah,
I want to see more of the year one. And the best way to do that is to give us both timelines going back and forth. Because that's how you explain Joker. And Joker already being in prison. And we're like wondering, why is he in prison? Well, because probably Batman put him there.
Would you guys say, wouldn't it have been better if they brought in, I know it's like different, but Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and said, here he is as like a 60-year-old and he's like washed up in the asylum. And then he's like more psychological.
I think it would work.
I would. I've seen King of Comedy. King of Comedy was fun. I wanted to stay.
But that was Joker.
I know that Joker was basically ripping off King of.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I don't like the movie.
I want that by itself. I love the idea of all these being their own compartmentalized individual.
Separate.
I love that idea.
But that's gone out the window now.
I don't think it's out the window because
I don't think it's totally out the window.
That wasn't him.
Because I like the Batman being its own thing, and then Joker being its own thing, and then Harley Quinn being all different universes.
One thing I did want to bring up that
I'd like to see a crossover.
that it was a video game reference. You can tell that Matt Reeves and the producer of this movie
are a bit younger.
They definitely played Arkham City and Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that.
Shit.
I was thinking,
especially the like when he's fucking like, dude, this is I felt like I was watching Arkham Asylum, man. It was fucking great.
I was thinking that based on the trailer, and it's like I kind of wanted. I hate using this term, but pull out like a gatekeeping thing of like, you know, I'm not sure how much of a fan I would consider myself of Batman. Like I'm a fan of Batman, but I don't feel like I'm an OG fan of Batman. Like I like Batman because there were good blockbuster movies made of it, and there were good blockbuster games made of it.
But you haven't read all the
comics. I haven't read all the comics. I've seen the TV show a bit.
The cartoon.
And too.
Well, the animated series is amazing.
And I played, so it's like we're like a natural fan, but it's like to me that's like
what?
Not Beyond.
Beyond was good.
Batman.
Batman
was
good.
good.
Is good, but Batman Beyond was good.
Animated series is so much better than Beyond.
Oh yeah, sure. But my thing is like. That's the same approach that I feel Star Trek had with Kurtzman and stuff. It's like, well, what I mean, like that. It's like
the difference.
There's nobody like.
I understand where you're going. The difference is.
Where am I going? Just so we know.
To say, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, because maybe I'm wrong.
Because I think about Kevin Feige is a fan of comics through and through. I mean, how could he not be? And you can get the sense of him like solving story problems in the Marvel universe by figuring out how to perfectly integrate things. He's more of a fan than I am, is the thing. And my thing is, and this isn't a criticism, and I feel it's part of its success because to a certain degree they decided to make a movie rather than, do the fan thing and stuff like that. But my thing is like, I don't, like, in terms of his credibility as like an ultimate fan, like, do you feel that he's like a Superman more than you or a super fan more than you, Matt Reeves? Or is it just like somebody who's like, they've seen all the movies, they played the video games, and watched Reeves, the TV show.
Matt Reeves strikes me, and
he's probably a
this
Batman
is the difference between
fan.
Kurtzman and Reeves.
Okay,
I bet that Reeves probably hasn't ever read a Batman comic, but or he might have
Halloween because that's the popular one, right?
He might have looked at maybe read Death in the Family, maybe read Year One, maybe read Dark Knight Returns.
Read Year One,
and he was like, okay, Batman as a character is very easy. Because he's this broken vigilante.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I fuck all the other shit. I don't. All the other shit is nonsense.
Would you guys say he's?
And
the
then
easiest
when you look at a guy like
understand?
Kurtzman is a worthless shill who says Star Trek. I know Star Trek. It has Kirk. It has Spock. There's McCoy. There's Tribble. That's what Kurtzman does.
But that's like the same thing that Star Wars is doing.
He knows
too.
the fucking pop culture shit. Yeah. He could care less for who each one of these characters is. Mm-hmm. Matt Reeves really cares who same when it came to Planet of the Apes movies. He cares about what the underlying tone and theme of the movie is,
and actually makes it into a movie rather than
assholes like Kurtzman. Do not care about characters. Matt Reeves cares about characters.
I said this while you were saying to the camera. Do you think what was I saying to you, Phil? About
good luck.
I don't remember things.
Is Batman the easiest character, basically the comic books character to understand?
No.
Because I find I don't feel I feel in many ways Superman isn't understood.
Superman is the easiest fucking character.
But they keep fucking him up. I don't think anybody has really I don't think Donner did it right, and I don't think that Singer did it right.
The closest getting it right was Donner, because Superman. All Superman stands for is
truth, justice.
Everything's got to be right. Truth, justice, American way. Right?
Not even really the American way.
And then you look at this terrible Zack Snyder, which I won't get into because I know Phil's tired of me saying
he was just such a terrible Zack choice Snyder. For Superman.
Henry Cavill's great, but Zack Snyder does not know how to make a happy story. And Superman's supposed to be fucking happy.
Do you guys think that they'll do another Superman with Cavill?
No.
I do.
I tell you one thing. I hope they don't do.
Should.
No, I hope they don't do fucking Michael B. Jordan, because that guy. I'm sorry, all the praise that guy gets, he sucks.
Well, it's he's a movie star. He's not an actor.
First,
he's very good in Black Panther, but
he's adequate in Black Panther.
It's a J.J. Abrams problem tackling Superman.
When I heard about
Michael B.
the Batman and the cast for that, I was like, New Moon, fuck that.
What do you mean New Moon?
But Eclipse, whatever they're called.
Twilight's
what he starred in, right?
Yeah.
I thought all that stuff was garbage, and I didn't even give him a chance.
But they are garbage, and he's not a great actor. He has great taste.
My point is, it's similar to kind of similar to what you're saying with Michael B. Jordan, whereas with the right direction.
But with the right direction, anybody can be good, can't they?
I agree.
Nope.
To an extent.
Think of the people who have been in.
Think of Adam Sandler in Paul W. Anderson movies.
Did you Punch Drunk Love? He's not good in that.
He's great.
I will never watch it.
What about Uncut Gems?
I'll never watch it.
Spanglish.
We'll never watch it.
Nobody likes Spanglish.
I love it. I love it. I'm sorry.
And that makes me an absolute hypocrite, I know, but we'll never
I have lived
watch
in
it.
2 households where Spanglish has been watched, and I wasn't a part of either of them. And at the end, I came down in both. I came down in both cases. Hey, what are you guys watching? Oh, Spanglish is terribly boring.
I enjoy.
In conclusion,
no conclusion.
Yeah.
Has some bad parts.
I would like to bring up the 2
end.
spin-offs that are coming.
Okay.
And what you
The
think
Iceberg
about
Lounge.
what you think of Colin Farrell's Penguin,
Loved him.
whatever they call
Sure.
it. Okay. And the GCPD Arkham Asylum series
That was just
rumored.
it came out on Twitter that was like rejected just because I guess it wasn't Batman centric enough or something like Josh Spiegel said.
I think it
Was
that's
from the
more
horse's mouth. The guy who was like the writer behind it said it was just rejected on Twitter today.
that sucks.
Watching Batman fight the Riddler is like watching chemotherapy try to fight cancer. Watching GCPD is like watching cancer just go, well, still cancer.
Well, I mean, for me, the way
It's
that
true. There's nothing to it. It's boring.
they could do
What?
it.
It's like imagine The Wire without the drugs. Oh, look, cops. Okay.
But then it's about corruption.
So-
But then,
cops.
yeah, exactly. You got the Wire
Yeah,
with
but you need
corruption
that
and
scene.
in the Batman universe, and it's interesting in its own right.
When I'm watching
Is this
Gotham,
inspired
I want
by
to
the-
watch Gotham for Batman. I want to watch what Batman does to Gotham.
Gotham is a pretty
I
terrible
could
show.
I could give a fuck about the rest
Did
of
you
Gotham,
watch
but
that?
Batman's
Did
not
you
involved.
watch the show Gotham at all? It was wild. There were some wild moments. Not a good series at all.
It had some good points to it.
It was like fun. Like it was basically like Batman.
As soon as I saw the
66
pilot
was worse.
episode and the girl playing Catwoman has a little hat on that's got little cat
Yeah,
ears
yeah.
on, I was like, nope,
But they got the
get the fuck out.
that show lasted so long because like the casting was terrible and the writing was bad.
The only one
It's
that got
a
it
CW
right,
type show.
Yeah,
the only one that got it right
On
was
Fox.
I loved in Dark Knight Rises when fucking Anne Hathaway, she has those goggles
Yeah,
that
yeah.
she uses. She puts them up and they look like cat ears.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
even
a
incidental,
cute,
wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a cute way of
That's
saying
a
it's
little bit
Catwoman.
more subtle, yes.
Yeah.
But they did that in this one too by doing the ski mask that
Yeah.
had the incidentally
Yep,
cat
yep,
ears.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. The subtlety's fine.
I love
just,
it.
Yeah, in this case, I don't get why Catwoman was there.
Did they have convincing romance to you, as convincing as it can be for?
It was
I
okay.
I didn't want the romance, so I was looking at it like, get rid of this. Hurry up. Yeah, kiss her. Great. Go.
Oh, they do
Go.
kiss. That's
but-
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will, but she saved his life
What do you mean? Sorry, Will.
because you haven't seen it. I
Oh,
don't
okay,
want
yeah,
to
yeah,
ruin
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I get you.
Everything's
Thank
ruined.
you, Phil. I really appreciate that.
Fuck.
As I then ruined that.
Yeah, I
part.
know, but I said
But
part of
this
the territory.
fucking goddamn heating vent is right above me. It's
I know.
bullshit.
Close it. Just close it. There we go.
to conclude, what would you rate out of 10 batarangs?
Out of 10 Batman calzones or
Sure.
batarangs?
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Out of 10 bat calzones, I'd give myself
Give yourself.
massive diarrhea and go 8.5
don't-
out of 10.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie was really,
Batteria.
really good.
It was.
Really, really good.
Letter grade?
For me, I have to give it a B plus.
Yeah,
It would be for me it would
Yeah.
be an absolute A. If Batwoman. If Catwoman just wasn't in it.
Do you think they'll introduce Batwoman into this eventually?
I think it'd be fun, but again, they've got to give her a good.
They kind of have to.
The tone
right?
has to be right
because the one big thing in the video games.
She's the Oracle,
Yeah, and then
If they could bring the Killing Joke into
she's the
this,
daughter,
oh
right?
my fuck, that would be awesome.
I hate that. I hate the way that story's been handled
Oh.
so much. Like the Killing Joke animated movie was the,
the
worst.
The
most
idea
offensive.
of bringing in Barbara Gordon and her getting that is the only way that I'd like to see the Joker in part 2.
That to me
is
is
if he shoots and paralyzes Barbara Gordon, and then that sends Batman on a rampage to kill the Joker.
well, we didn't
That'd
get
be
to
fun.
see anything about what's his face's family. So
Gordon's,
Gordon's
so
family.
that's good. Like they can just bring anything in.
But to me, it feels like, and I only realize it that you guys say now is I realize that the Killing Joke to me feels like Alan Moore just kind of messing around with the Batman mythos, just like he did with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and all that things. It doesn't seem like, I agree with you that it's like probably similar territory that they could definitely cover, but it's like the motivations never made much sense to me for the Killing Joke that is like providing an origin story for the Joker. It's like something that the Joker made up in his head. the way that he like
That's how the
paralyzes
sequel
Barbara but doesn't kill her, and then the way that he like plays around with her, and then how that affects Batman when it's kind of like a Jim Gordon story. That would really be something that would probably be better suited if it were handled in a TV show.
No,
then
you do that
that
Killing Joke thing. You do the past and the present, and you make that work like that.
Yeah. I had another thing that I wanted to say. Number one, I think that if they choose like at least the similar creative approach, however they tried it with, where they get Matt Reeves to stick around to do the Iceberg Lounge show. Although I'm sure he's like after this weekend he's getting like 10 million phone calls.
He's gonna move on to the next Batman.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah. But
money.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope that Matt Reeves is a guy who, like Scorsese, likes all the money, but also likes quality, man.
Still puts
To
in
me,
that work. Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, based on what I've seen before, he's like a J.J. Abrams to me. He's extremely talented, but
You think he's gonna?
Well, think of what he's done
get to a
before.
point.
He's done Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
and
but
he's
he doesn't do the J.J. Abrams, Steven Spielberg, sell him on sentimentality. With none of the Planet of the Apes, I never felt the sell him on sentimentality.
So to
vibe.
me, he is Matt Reeves is to Martin Scorsese. Well, that's even given. He's like to David Fincher, I'll say, because he's a bit younger. He's to David Fincher what J.J. Abrams is to Steven Spielberg. He's like kind of like a brilliant copycat artist. Because I've never seen anything original from Matt Reeves before. Cloverfield, I guess.
I love.
But that was written by Drew Goddard.
I love that.
But all right, what's your?
Oh, I came to a decision. 9 out of 10.
Wow.
It is a must see. Everyone should go to the theater to watch it. Hopefully, you have already and are watching this after.
Or wait for it to come out. It's a movie that
depending on your
wait
theater.
for it. Don't rush it and enjoy it, man. Treat it like fine wine. Enjoy it when you watch it.
If you can go to a really good theater, like one of those digital ones, if they got one.
Safe.
Oh my goodness! Yes, sure.
Safety's important. Fill up.
We're at the very end of COVID.
They when they sold the seats, there was a seat between each and every person.
There still was?
Yeah.
Not for
it
me.
was for mine.
We were all right beside
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, when I bought tickets, it was.
Did you guys go to the same
Cineplex
theater?
or Landmark?
Landmark.
Oh, that's the difference, probably. Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
I went to Cineplex and they were still doing the.
Spatial seating.
Yeah.
What the
that's
fuck
good
did my
to know.
wife do with? Did she take it?
Yeah.
Bitch.
Anyway,
Didn't you gave it to her though?
Oh, I should get it back.
what do you think of the Batman? Hopefully, you've gone and seen it. I want to see comments right now, wherever you see this.
No one
Yeah, what
gives
do
us
you think we
comments.
Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit.
There's no
We'll post
comments.
to
You,
Reddit.
you could post a Reddit.
I put in a comment on Reddit saying that this is the episode where I get nude.
no one cares.
And then they all
Yeah,
downvoted
it's
it.
fine.
Well, obviously, because
Bummer.
you
Hey,
look
are
horrible.
you a viewer or listener of our podcast or our shows?
Yeah.
Email us at
No, don't email us. Just comment somewhere.
Email us like it's
Can you
1993.
taste the Batman
.com. Can you taste the Batman calzone? .com.
It's gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah. But Video Game Donkey does that all the time where he gives a different name at the end.
Poor little
Oh,
Caesar's gonna be like, what the fuck are these comments coming in?
I don't look at my.
Fuck that.
No, I
I'll
wasn't
kill
looking
you.
at your name.